Remember what you were saying about people in the burbs, Art? People like Skip? People who mowed their lawn for the 800th time and then snap? Well, that's us! It's not them! That's us! We're the ones who are vaulting over the fences and peeking in through people's windows. We're the ones who are throwing garbage in the street and lighting fires. We're the ones who are acting suspicious and paranoid. We're the lunatics! Us! It's not them! It's us. I don't know what to say. What, do you want me to move?
Welcome to A Cast with No Name. We're your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 40. This episode will be discussing the 1989 Joe Dante film, The Burbs. But first, don't forget to visit our website, acastwithnoname.com, where you can write to our email for any kind of requests, as far as topics, questions, all that good shit. And also, you can see our whole archive and our entire library of our past episodes.
I think we're on 40 now.
Yeah, we are on 40. I
Jeez.
just said we're on 40. You don't listen.
I didn't listen.
You did not listen.
Sorry.
Yes, we're on 40.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's half of
When
80.
you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 10 less than 50.
It's a 2 score.
What's the score? Is that 20?
I think that's 20.
Is that 4 score and 7 years ago?
It was like 87 years ago. Yeah. Our fathers brought forth.
Jesus. No idea.
That's a way to open up this episode.
Awesome.
We're getting
right into it.
Woo!
Everyone's excited.
That's clickbait.
Jesus. Well, no one knows what it meant. They just heard that before. 4 score and 7 years. No one thinks about it. They don't care.
Yeah, no one says. They say decades. They don't say
Score.
Yeah.
Kind of like no one thinks about this movie that we're about to talk about, The Burbs. Like ever.
I want to say I disagree because we talk about it.
Oh, I know we do.
But
in terms of like Tom Hanks' filmography, no one ever really mentions The Burbs.
True.
That's kind of why we wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so for all you non-film buffs out there, there was once a period in time where Tom Hanks was not a serious actor. And that was mainly in the 80s where he was just turning out comedies left and right.
He was. And this was after, I believe, Big just came out.
The year before, yeah.
Well, yeah. Yep. And because I think Big, and then this got pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
So actually in early 1989, I think that it was released in February after he was nominated for
an Oscar.
For Big.
Yep.
But this is in his heyday of comedies with Joe versus the Volcano, Big, Dragnet,
Splash, Turner and Hooch, Bachelor Party.
Yep.
Did you ever watch Bachelor Party?
I did not. That was early in his career. I think it might have been one of his first.
One of his first ones, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, back when he did more funny
movies, yeah. I think you're right though. This got sandwiched in between when he got nominated for an Oscar and Turner and Hooch came out after this. That was more popular than The Burbs. People enjoyed that one more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just gotten forgotten about.
Well, this actually made quite a bit of money.
The Burbs did?
Mm-hmm. So it just got shit reviews.
Oh.
So
okay.
Because when it came out, critics were shitting on it, but it made quite a bit of money. And is actually Joe Dante's been said that this is the film he gets recognized for the most, other than Gremlins.
Yeah.
To where he said this is the second most popular movie that he's made.
Really?
Yep.
I like Explorers. I'm a big fan of. I think Inner Space is a little underrated. Have you ever seen Inner Space?
I saw Inner Space when I was a kid. I tried rewatching it, and I think I fell asleep.
Okay.
Might have been half tired. Might have been hungover. Might have been a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I tried because that has Dennis Quaid, Martin Short in it.
Yeah. You're big fans of those.
Yeah, I like Martin Short, and but yeah, I remember liking it when I was a kid, and never saw Explorers. Matinee was one that I liked a lot when I was a kid. We watched that together a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I think that was your first time. I don't think
I'd never seen it before then. No,
and I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. And I remember sitting and watching it. I was like, little rose-colored glasses when I was thinking about this movie. Which it's fine. It's just not.
Yeah. I'm sure if I haven't seen Explorers in a long time. I'm sure that it wouldn't have the same effect. Mm-hmm. That I remember. I haven't seen it probably in 20 years. It's been a long time.
Okay. But yeah, with the Burbs, Tom Hanks in the middle of his heyday, and coincidentally, he's not the comedic effect in this movie. He plays a fairly straight.
It's pretty straight, yeah.
Pretty straight character.
So who would you say is the?
The comic relief?
Yeah,
I would say everybody else except Carol.
Everybody else except Carol. That's fair.
And and his son. His son's not really in it.
He's not really in it.
But everyone else is such a distinct character.
Yeah.
His whole family in there feels like the only normal people. But Art is rewatching this. Art is such a piece of shit.
He is.
Like, he's the most annoying,
worst friend ever.
Yeah. And,
terrible.
Yeah, he's like bordering, like he's a dickhead.
He is.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And and you could tell that Tom Hanks's character just kind of puts up with him.
Yep. Like why, as you're watching the movie, like why is he
hanging out with him? What
because
he lives next door to him, and
he can't help it.
Only that's just can't get rid of him.
Can't get. He's like head lice.
And Rumsfeld, I feel like, is the neighbor that he never hangs out with, and this is his first instance of being around him.
Right.
So other than that, it was just kind of like a waving at him across the street.
Yeah. Just keep up with the yard, keep up with the Joneses, so that I don't have to walk across the street and say, "Hey, water your damn lawn or mow your yard" every now and again.
But that's what I like about this movie is that everyone feels different, and no one, at least back in this day, everyone knew what their character was, and they stuck with it. And they didn't try and upstage people. People weren't trying to be funny at the same time. You don't have there was some, I guess, improv in this movie just because there was a writer's strike going on at the time. But it's not improv to the point where it's like a Paul Feig movie, Bridesmaids, to where every scene, everyone is the exact same. And they're all trying to be the funny one. They're all trying to be the weird, quirky, whatever.
Yeah.
To where everyone in this movie has their own job to do, their own character, and everything they do is within their character.
Right.
As opposed to everyone's just one character trying to make everybody else laugh kind of thing. But Tom Hanks really doesn't have any funny moments. There's a part at the end that you like when he slides down the stairs.
That's it's the funniest part of the movie. It's hands down. He just has a knack for Tom Hanks is great at reactive comedy where he doesn't say anything. Like a scene that I think of all the time is The Money Pit, where he's trying to take a bath. He pours the water in the bathtub and it falls down like every level of floor, and he just starts laughing. No dialogue. He's just good at stuff like that. And you can tell that scene was improv. He
very
improv
physical
that.
comedy to get his point across.
Yeah. I mean, there was no direction. That he just made it up on the fly. You could tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The another scene is when he after the house explodes and he's laying on the gurney, and then he gets up and just throws the gurney in the ambulance and lays back on. It's like, I'm sick. Take me to the hospital.
Just take me to the hospital.
That was another improv scene that he did. But,
okay, honey. All right. Yeah. All improv. But yeah, so this movie's labeled a horror comedy. Mm-hmm. And after watching, because I hadn't seen it in probably 5 years. I never really thought about it, but there's not really a lot of horror elements in it, in that there's no like blood or violence. I mean, there's that tone.
Yeah, it's more atmospheric.
Yeah, there's nothing that's gonna like jump out and scare you though.
No.
Yeah.
There's no jump scares.
He has zero of that.
And when I watched this when I was a kid, the nightmare scene would scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And just because it's a pretty good dream sequence.
Pretty good.
It felt weird watching it, but I just remember being scared of that scene when I was a kid. But other than that, a lot of it's just kind of like I guess the more mysterious. It's not like we said jump scares. It's just more of the not knowing kind of a thing that creates that suspense. But yeah, but it does have that eerie sense.
It does.
But it does do a good job of balancing that out a lot with the humor, especially with setting up some of the tension. For example, when they go to, when Art dares Ray to go knock on the house, and then the music starts playing, and then you have the slow pan back of everyone just staring at him as they're slowly approaching the house, and then it's the scenes like that in that movie that reminds me a lot of like Phil Lord and Christopher Miller movies, like the Lego Movie or 21 Jump Street, to where they'll use filmmaking techniques. Edgar Wright does a lot of this too, and Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz is they'll use editing, music, and pacing and shot movement all for the service of the joke, as opposed to just dialogue and acting.
Right. Yeah.
Because Joe Dante,
this is the scene where they do close-ups of the eyes.
Yeah,
right?
close-ups of the eyes. You have that intense music, and then it ends on the dog.
The dog, it's a nice touch.
Yeah, it's over the top, and it's meant to be over the top.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's playing off of that sense of, oh, this is supposed to be kind of.
It's a wink and a nod of, hey guys, remember you're watching a comedy.
Yeah.
This is let's laugh a little bit here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not completely serious.
Yep.
What do you think of the neighborhood? Like
looks
the
very
cul-de-sac?
familiar.
It does, doesn't it? That's why I like it too. It reminds me of like my neighborhood when I grew up.
Yeah. They shot Desperate Housewives there.
Yeah.
And
Universal's tour lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did, a bunch of movies in that neighborhood.
Like Ricky's house is actually the Munsters house.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have Leave It to Beaver, which Mayfield, the street that the
cul-de-sac's on?
The cul-de-sac is on, is the town in Leave It to Beaver.
Oh.
And Leave It to Beaver was filmed on that same backlot.
Huh.
Which I don't know if that was intentional from the writer's standpoint, to where he put it on Mayfield Street to kind of clash with, because if you think about it, this came out in 89. Leave It to Beaver was in the 50s.
Yep.
30 years after. It'd be the equivalent of us talking about Friends.
Right.
Like if someone had...
Or Seinfeld,
to where someone had a coffee shop called the Central Perk. People would immediately get that. To where I wonder if it was the same thing back when Burbs came out and they saw Mayfield Place, if they immediately thought of Leave It to Beaver.
Right.
In that kind of neighborhood.
You're probably right.
And it kind of even opens up a little bit after the noise from the neighbor's house, and it's morning and everything. You have like the newspaper delivery. It looks very
throws it at his
idyllic.
feet.
Yeah, throws it at his feet, and he throws a cup of coffee at him. So I don't know if that was intentional, just to get people in the mind of, oh, Leave It to Beaver, and then you have this neighborhood that is nothing like Leave It to Beaver. Or if it just happened to be that's just a coincidence. But
yeah,
I would think it was probably intentional.
Probably.
I would think. I feel like the writers...
Otherwise, that would be a coincidence, like a huge coincidence.
A very big coincidence.
Yeah. You can name your street anything, so you're probably right. And I like the different neighbors, and that they like the old man who's by himself with the dog in the manicured yard.
Yep.
Like I live next door to someone like that, like an older lady with 3 yippy dogs that just maintained her yard.
Yeah.
To like the utmost perfection. And then like your weird neighbor who has his quirks. I had a neighbor like that. Wasn't a military guy by any means, but just was kind of odd and very particular.
I just with Rumsfeld, I was just retired military.
Oh, there you go. All right,
and I always just figured that that's what he was, because I never got the sense of prepper or anything. I feel like he was in the military and he just kind of misses it.
Oh, he missed the daily regimen of it all.
But it wasn't because Ricky calls him Lieutenant, but I don't know if that's real. Like I don't know. I mean, I could also see Rumsfeld just being like a prepper or like a, what do they call them? Gravy SEALs.
Yeah. But no, I think you might be right. He didn't strike me as the prepper like the guy from Tremors and Reba McEntire. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't like him.
Because he does the flag ceremony. He's very particular. So I always read that as, okay, he's ex-military and he's just retired.
Yeah.
And doesn't have really much to do with his time because he did his 20 years and he's good. But yeah, everyone definitely has their own distinct character. I think that everyone could easily say, oh, I know that person. I know. Yeah. Everyone knows Ricky.
Yeah.
Like
everyone
growing up, you knew Ricky's all over the place.
You knew Ricky.
Hey, Rumsfeld, dude, what are you doing with a gun?
Shut up and paint your goddamn house.
Whoa!
Yeah. Well, we've all had the weird neighbors that you didn't really know.
That mainly kept to themselves.
To themselves, and maybe you said hi to them every now and then, but you always forgot their names.
Yeah, you'd always have neighborhood rumors, like even if it was just amongst kids.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so and so, like.
Yeah, they used to have 3 dogs, and I only see 2 of them.
Yeah, probably ate one.
Probably, yeah. Something like that.
Like, or someone gets yelled at one time from like stepping in their yard and like, oh, I heard he kills neighborhood children.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah. You always had the neighbor who was like, get off my yard. Like, don't play in my yard or keep your dog off my yard. Even in the neighborhood I'm in now, people have signs up that say, this is a dog-free zone. Don't poop in the yard. It's like every other house has a dog in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Are you going to be that much of a dickhead to put in your yard? Please don't crap him. It's like, I'll pick it up. Yeah. You know what? Shit on this yard right now. I'm not picking it up. I hope he lays a giant turd all over your yard. You step in it.
So we can relate fairly well to the neighborhood. If, the bickering of Carol and Ray.
It's pretty good.
Now, I remember growing up, and I remember thinking, and maybe it's because my parents bickered, but they didn't bicker a lot. But the way they interacted felt very real. Watching it again, I guess I'll ask a hard question. Do you and Nicole bicker that much?
We don't bicker that much, but the bickering is familiar in the movie. The conversation about going to the lake and vacation and what's your idea of a vacation and
that is I guess the intensity I think is a little over the top in those scenes, at least for me, just because when I tell my wife something, that's the way it goes.
Right.
So there is
it's no
the
law.
I mean, it's just
there's no pushback.
There's no pushback. There's no discussion.
It's yes, honey, no, honey.
Exactly.
More like yes, honey.
Yeah. So more like leave it to Beaver.
You don't hear no a lot, do you?
Yeah, I don't.
Not in your household.
Nope.
You run a tight ship.
I do run a tight ship.
I'm a man.
Yeah. God damn it.
I see what you're saying, though.
But yeah, I mean, it just felt a little intense, but it still feels real. But I was watching it again. I was like, we don't bicker that much, and I don't know if it was a decade thing, because even now you still have couples to where showing a loving relationship on TV or in movies, unless it's a romantic comedy, isn't done all that much. It's usually, you get a lot of, like, the father's either a dumbass or you have just a lot of, not toxic relationships, but it's just unrealistic expectations of relationships, whether that be how romance is portrayed or anything like that. But I guess what I'm trying to say, like the bickering, it felt real, even though now, like after being married, it kind of feels over the top, especially that quickly kind of a thing, to being annoyed that quickly in a discussion of going to the lake. But then again, you're just plopped in this family. You could have kind of assumed they talked about it the day before, and maybe the day before leading up to it or something like that.
Yeah. And maybe that was there, put there intentionally for dramatic impact, because at the end of the movie, he actually blows up the house and,
Yeah, he's
coming to the realization.
Everything that Carol said was going to happen ended up happening.
Right. Why didn't I just listen to her?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of things in there where I mean, yeah, they're in there for the movie for entertainment value. Like when they're watching Jeopardy and Art's knocking on the window, like I need your, like any normal guy would have been like, just get the fuck away. I'm watching Jeopardy with her right now. Go the fuck away.
He
I'll
like
talk to
ducks
you later.
down like no one's gonna see him. Like the fuck.
Yeah, call me in an hour, okay? You don't need me right this instant.
Yeah, I like that scene though. Just sitting and watching because I remember my parents doing that. When I mean, everyone does that. They just sit and they watch the TV show, and also the outdoors, like when he takes a dog for a walk.
Yeah,
and to where it's after dinner, and you're just kind of like out and about to where you're not just inside your house the whole time. Or it reminded me of summer a lot.
Yeah.
Growing up, now that it's winter and people don't leave their house ever.
Yeah.
But no, I like the. I thought that was really well done as far as the setting in the neighborhood and just. I mean, it seems so small, but it's just something you don't see a lot in movies. Everything is so specific and particular nowadays to where it doesn't feel like a lived-in neighborhood or a lived-in kind of life of someone just having a staycation at home.
Yep.
But it's just something that always stood out to me in that movie.
What did you think of the Klopeks themselves? Like I used to think that when I used to watch this as a kid, like they're just so overtly messy and like the son is so gross looking and they're so odd. It's like, of course they're weird, you know. Of course they have people with bodies in their basement. Why do they have it? And then I realized watching it again, it's like, oh yeah, it's they're played up this way so that the revelation at the end when you realize that they do actually have bodies in there and they are killing people. It's like, well, duh.
Yeah,
they're fucking weird.
Yeah, because it kind of plays with you a little bit to where, oh, yeah, they're just weird people, but they're not bad just because they look different. But nope. No, they are bad because they look different. And
yeah, your stereotypes were spot on.
Yeah.
They're murderers.
Don't worry, you were correct in your
correct.
prejudice.
That's right. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, well, I like that house as like the whole house in that yard as a character because they've only lived there a month. And the house looks like it hasn't been touched in like 100 years. Like the lawn doesn't go to hell that fast in a month. Especially in, well, I think it's supposed to take place in Chicago, but to zoom in at the beginning.
It's like Iowa,
yeah.
Or like South Dakota or something. Yeah.
Yep. And to where everything is just so run down in that house that.
I never even thought about that. You're right.
Yeah.
They've
like
only lived in there for a
paint's
month.
cracking.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the Naps, the previous neighbors, just that's how they left the house. But,
That's a good point.
I would like to. I like to imagine that the house looked perfectly normal, because even Ray made a comment. He's like, "They've been there a month. You'd think they'd do something about that yard." To where I could take that as that's how it looked when they moved in, or it didn't look like that.
Yeah, yeah.
They just let it go to shit in a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and I like how you can't really place where they're from. Like the kid dresses up in like lederhosen and like the Pinocchio outfit looks like a Bavarian, whatever the hell, milk boy. And
well, when he says, "What is that Slavic?" Like, what is Slavic? Is that Slovenia? You're from Slovenia?
Czechoslovakian? Yeah. What?
We're in the Czech Republic. Is that a country?
We were educated by the American education system, so we're not up to par on geographicalness.
We got educated in public.
Yeah, we got public.
Yeah, we were
school.
educated in the public variety.
But I would assume Czechoslovakian or just Eastern European-ish.
Sure. There's bratwurst there, right? Bad tasting food.
Yep.
Ugh. But yeah, I like the fact that you don't even know, like they don't even explain like why they're burying bodies in the backyard, and then why they even decided to burn people in the front. Like there was like, is it an experiment? Is it because you just wanted to kill people?
Yeah.
What was the? No, doesn't matter.
People do that.
Just people do that. No explanation needed.
I like to think that they probably just burn the bodies in the houses that they go into.
Okay.
and then just use all their money and resources and then move on to the next place.
Okay, all right. They use all the money and resources to buy the hyper industrialized furnace to heat up to 1,200 degrees.
So then get rid of the bodies.
To get rid of the bodies.
Even though, even with 5,000 degrees, then you still have bones that you have to deal with.
Yeah,
that they
that's
just
right.
carry.
You carry in your trunk. It's no big deal.
But yeah, I like the offhand comments that they make at the beginning of the film, to where like the crow on top of the owl. They're like, oh, yeah, I didn't. I knocked on the door and it wasn't bees or wasps. It was a foaming squirrel or something. Like all these weird animals are starting to go to the house, and it just has this huge aura. But it's just like offhand comments that they keep making throughout the movie that they're just throwaway lines. But it's like, oh yeah, well they had. I haven't seen crows here that much before. Have you? No, I haven't either.
Yeah.
But I do like how they have that dialogue, because in the beginning when Art's eating all their food at breakfast,
Stuff in his face.
Art makes a comment. He's like, "Oh God, yeah, I'd hate to live next door to him." I mean, and he's just like laying it on thick to Ray, and then Ray says, "He's like, well, I mean, the Naps were here, what, 5 years or something, and I only saw them twice." And I was like, they didn't even say goodbye when they moved, and it's just a quick throwaway thing, and then it moved on to something else. But then they bring it back up again when they're visiting the Klopeks, to where, oh, we didn't even see a moving van. And he's like, it was in the driveway all day long. And then they move on, and then you find out that they ended up killing him. But at the beginning, there's a lot of information that just kind of supports either the setting of the neighborhood, what's happened in the past, but it's delivered in such an organic way that it's not distracting to the point that it typically is nowadays, to where if somebody foreshadows something, it's done with a brick as opposed to a feather, and it's just completely obvious, to where the camera lingers on something too long, or it doesn't feel like an organic shot of something to where, oh, pay attention to this dummy because we're going to be bringing this up later.
Right.
Instead of like this, where everything feels organic, to where...
Yep. Like Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, where they change the frame of the angle on the guy who's eventually Sauron.
Yeah.
It's just completely out of place from the rest of the scene. Yeah.
Yeah, to where like, oh, okay, this person's going to be important.
Exactly. Yeah. It's such a... But yeah, I like to that point, when they're in the Klopeks house and Ray and Art are digging it up and everything, and they scan back outside, and it's Rumsfeld and Ricky, and they're closed up on them, and they're tracking something, and you think it's the Klopeks, and it turns out to be Art. But you as an audience member, you completely forgot about Art, because you just believe that Art is dead this whole time. You just forgot about it.
Yeah.
But the way they set that up was great.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels... I mean, it's more subdued filmmaking. I mean, even though some of the things are over the top, it's...
Yeah. Like when Ray goes into the Klopeks yard and the wind picks up, and he steps back and it dies down. Well, what did you think of the sardine scene with the sound effects and everything?
That goes in line with my... They use all the filmmaking to get it across, and I know you have a clip for this, and I'm glad you brought this up, because every time I watch that scene,
I know
I'll let you introduce it.
Just the sound effect.
The sound effect. It's just you can taste it.
You can taste it. Absolutely.
How are you enjoying Hinkley Hills? We just love it. Don't we?
Yes.
Klopek. What is that, Slavic?
No.
Oh, about a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
But yeah, you could just feel him digging in there, peeling away the oil, just kind of dripping off the sardine.
It's great. Do you like the awkward chit chat too between people that don't know each other very well? I thought that was great.
Trying to come up with something just to talk about.
Something to break the silence, yeah.
And they know that they're not welcome in that house. And they don't want them there, but they're just like, ugh.
Just sitting there biding time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It
came with the flame.
I wonder. Yeah, because I mean, in that house, I would imagine everything in that house is not theirs either. It was the Naps.
No.
Because and they wouldn't know either because they never been inside that house. So,
yep.
But did you hear Jason, who was a guest on here? You ever remember me referring to his Great Danes as horses?
Yes.
That's
because of that?
Because of this movie.
Because of this movie?
It's like, oh, you got a horse.
Yeah. That is a Great Dane, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't even recognize it. What was the dog's name?
Lando. It's like a French serial killer, I think. That's what they named the dog.
Really?
Yeah.
Lando.
Yeah, that was something I learned, like, researching a little bit about this movie. It's
really?
Like, yeah, the name of the dog, if it's, like, on the subtitles, it's not spelled correctly, but the way he pronounces it is there's a French serial killer
really?
With that name, yeah.
Huh. Did you also know that well, like you said, when the movie opens up with the Universal logo and it goes into like a close up of the Earth and you're like to Iowa, that was the first time since Jaws 3D that a production company's logo was altered.
Really?
Like yeah, and the company that altered it for this movie was Industrial Light and Magic. Yeah.
They did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah. For 89, yeah.
Yeah, because I was watching it, and I mean, you can tell where they shift or dissolve into the next thing. But I mean, they stayed pretty good, and even that miniature they used was pretty good. And then you could tell when they cut to actual, because I think they did an actual hard cut to the actual set.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought that was, I remember seeing that being really unique. And I mean, yeah, they don't do a lot of that stuff. And I guess they do.
They do a lot now.
Yeah.
A lot now, for sure.
I think they had, what was it? Zombieland, I think, did it.
Yep.
With the Columbia lady.
Yep. Well, you haven't seen Fast and the Furious lately, have you?
No, I saw the.
Oh,
I saw the first 4, and then I got it. I was like, oh, I understand.
Since you've missed the boat, Jay, they've done an initial 6, and they're going to be on Fast 10 here soon. But it always switches into something like a wheel.
Oh, does it?
Or something, and it spins. It's just spinning. You're excited. They're revving you up for the next edition.
Quarter mile at a time.
Quarter mile at a time. Family. It's all about family. But yeah, and of course, like Disney, it seems like they changed the Disney castle to whatever motif that movie is for.
Yeah,
whatever the case is.
Yeah, whatever castle it is, they seem to change the castle to suit that character.
But yeah, as I was researching this movie, it was just interesting to know that this is one of the first to alter that.
Yeah, because I mean, even back then, so you had Jaws 3D, you had for the Universal logo, and then you had. Because, I mean, you had that with Raiders.
Yeah.
To where it would
Paramount
dissolve.
logo.
Yeah, the Paramount would dissolve into that. And they did that for all the Indiana Jones movies. But yeah, other than Indiana Jones and, this one, I can't really think of anything in the 80s that they really did that for. But yeah, in here you have Dick Miller and Robert Picardo as the garbage men.
Oh, yeah.
2 Joe Dante regulars.
For sure.
And I like how they're talking about shit that people would still probably talk about.
Yes.
Like going to a seminar and like, it'll change your life, I swear.
Yeah. Yeah, go to an Andrew Tate seminar.
Yeah.
It'll change your life, man.
Learn to be alpha male.
Yeah.
You have,
be top G. Yeah. Just make money.
You have Nicky Katt, who later goes on into, he plays Steve Kuntz. Ricky's friend,
Okay.
Comes over, and I think he was in Boiler Room. I mean, he hasn't been in a bunch of stuff, but he was later in Days Confused and Boiler Room. Rance Howard, Ron Howard's dad.
Yeah, Rance, yeah.
Courtney Gaines plays Hans Klopek, who is the guy who cuts in on George and Lorraine McFly in the dance.
Yep, and Back to the Future, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know him from Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
I'm a big horror fan, and that was one of the first horror movies I ever saw. He's such a unique looking, ginger.
It's the red hair.
It's the red
and
hair.
that's why I don't trust people with red hair.
That's right.
Actually, I don't trust males with red hair.
Right, it's frightening.
Yeah, it is.
It's off-putting.
'Cause
Sorry for the...
wife has red hair, but, that's fine.
Hey, it looks good on her.
Yeah, looks good.
Everyone else...
Not
it's-
on boys, no.
No, on boys it's just...
Boys with red hair, they just look like they break shit. Like they just, I don't know, they would just break something in your house.
Yeah, well, it's just unsettling.
If there's one stereotype that's true, it's that.
It's that, yeah. Did you realize, watching the movie, Corey Feldman has got to be one of the shortest people ever.
He is.
He's tiny.
5'6.5", I think.
Wow.
He is not a large man by any means, and it's, you notice that with child actors. Not that they're all short, but
all of them are.
But it's funny because and I think that's part of the reason why it's so hard to shift from child acting to adult acting is when they're kids, they could be cuter, or they're picked because they're a kid that can act and they look good on camera.
Yeah.
To where once they get older, maybe they get weird looking. Maybe they don't get tall enough. They don't have that typical movie star thing. I mean, you have a couple of, you get Dustin Hoffman, you get Tom Cruise, you have some people that are shorter.
Yeah.
But you don't get a lot of them. And to where I wonder if, once they get past that point where, you're only 5, you're not a kid anymore, but you look like a child next to normal 5'10" adults.
Yes, you do. Well, him standing next to Tom Hanks and Rick Ducommun, I'm like, either they're very tall or Corey Feldman's extremely short.
He's very short. He is not 5'6.5".
He's 5'5".
5'5" and 3/4.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that's tiny.
Which is fine, but yeah, this is one of the few movies where he's an adult.
Yes, yeah.
And not playing... I mean, I guess he's playing a high school kid.
He's playing like an 18-year-old, yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely noticeably short, because most of the other movies, like Goonies and Stand By Me, he was a kid next to other kids. So I guess it wasn't as noticeable. But yeah, short man.
Yep.
And he's not the star, so he's not going to be getting an apple box like Tom Cruise walking on a platform next to Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
He's like 6'2".
Yeah, I know.
And...
Yep. And Rick Ducommun, this is like his... I'm looking at his filmography. This is like his only semi-starring role.
Yeah, it's this. I remember him in Blank Check.
Yep.
Played the limo driver. And, I mean, yeah, he had a couple other things. But, yeah, I think this is probably his biggest movie.
This is it. Yeah. Everything, like he was the city worker in Die Hard. That's whenever I see him pop out of the sewer.
Shut it down now.
Shut it down now. Yeah. And then... yeah, I was in The Last Boy Scout. He had a little cameo there. He was in Groundhog Day. Played Gus. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't...
Not a lot of speaking, more than a couple scenes here or there.
Mm-hmm. Scary movie. I guess he played the dad.
Yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, it wasn't in a lot of stuff.
No. Do you think his shtick was, After watching it in the Burbs, it was like, okay, that's enough. He's a good side, one scene or two character, not enough to
or maybe maybe they couldn't see him as playing anything other than an asshole.
Right. Then Art, the annoying neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Because I think he was a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And probably just didn't work out because, maybe his character, I guess, and it could have been, Tom Hanks didn't get along with him too well in this movie. that could
Could
have
be.
had something to do with it. And could have been an asshole, or it could have just been typecasted as no one digging him or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I mean, I thought he was fine in this.
Yeah.
I think
I think he's
it could have just been a Norm thing too.
Norm thing.
Norm Macdonald. I mean, hilarious person, but he was just. I mean, he was in Dirty Work and some like
I know
a
what you
bit
mean.
part in Billy Madison, but I mean, he wasn't really. He's hugely popular now, but it also took him 40 years to get to that point, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
To where I just wonder if he just never got traction or never
Maybe
had the opportunities.
Maybe he never wanted to be a.
Yeah,
in
it
the
could be
movies
it
anyway.
too, to where maybe he did mainly writing and all that crap. So.
Didn't feel like it.
Yeah. So.
Do you think this was one of like when I see Bruce Dern in this? Do you think this is a movie that he took to like just pay the bills because he's like a revered actor? He's like, shit, I gotta make something. I gotta keep something.
I don't know, because he's so good in it.
Yeah.
To where I don't know. I could see him doing it because he'd think it would be fun.
Yeah. But thinking about like, hey Bruce, we're offering this movie starring Tom Hanks, and him being like the guy from the fucking Mermaid movie. You know what I mean? He's not Tom Hanks that we know him today. He was just, just a comedy guy.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I mean, Bruce Dern, he was kind of, he is kind of like a character actor. He is a very good actor, but he's just been in so much things that, I mean, my guess is he either loves the work or he wanted to try his hand at comedy. I mean, this is the movie I remember him in the most.
Okay.
And I think, what was it, Last Man Standing, some Bruce Willis movie. I think he played a sheriff in there. It was like just smaller thing. But every time I saw it, I was like, oh, Bruce Dern, guy from the Burbs.
Guy from the Burbs.
But I don't know. I kind of like to think that he enjoyed it.
He's very good in it.
He is so good in it, and it's tough to do. I think it's tougher for dramatic, serious actors to do comedy than it is for comic actors to do drama.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it maybe, and I mean, he's been in, Jesus, how many things? 186 things he's been in. And he's still coming out with, he's been in 5 movies in 2022.
Jeez.
Like, he's still coming out with shit. So
him and Robert Duvall are just
it's just still going.
making stuff in the 80s, in their 80s, yeah.
And I don't know, I can't think of anything else that he's done that is in such a comedic role.
There go the goddamn brownies.
Maybe it's something he just wanted to try.
Yeah, could be.
But I mean, he could have been in 15 other different comedic things, and Joe Dante could have
Picked up on it
and
cast him
him as that.
Yeah. But so why do you think this movie, I mean, me and you obviously love The Burbs. It's one of our go-to movies if we just wanted to have it,
Have it on.
have it on in the background while we're folding laundry. It's one of those movies.
Yeah. It's a good sick movie too.
It is, yeah. It's like a nice cup of coffee,
Yeah.
a nice bowl of soup.
Yep.
But like, for instance, Nicole, she never heard of the movie. When we got together, I'm like, "You want to watch The Burbs?" I haven't watched that in a while. She's like, "I don't even know what that is. Never even heard of it." Like, really? If you were to ask like my dad, for instance, or just a normal person who's watches movies but not like an avid movie fan like me or you, like, let's watch The Burbs, and the first thing they'll say is, "I don't even know what that is."
Yeah. So what's the question? Why do I think people haven't seen it?
Yeah. Why isn't it not as I don't know,
I think it
revered?
Just I think it got lost. It came out in the same year as, or around the same time as like Goodfellas. I mean, it's not. Tom Hanks isn't funny in it. I mean, he's fun. He's entertaining in it. He's not. It's not.
It's not big.
Yeah, it's not big. It's not like a Tom Hanks comedy.
Right. Yeah.
And
I was
don't
gonna say,
know.
do you think it's the horror comedy aspect? Like it was advertised as like a quirky horror comedy?
It could have been mismarketing, and it just kind of missed the boat. But I mean, I think I'm trying to remember. I had this movie on beta, and now it wasn't. We didn't buy it on beta. It was we rented the movie and we recorded it onto a second VCR.
All right,
and that's how I started my movie collection. Is recording them on blank beta tapes.
Really?
Yeah, I was a pirate. No big deal.
No big deal. Yeah, you're a rebel. Yeah, it's tattooed on my left shoulder.
Yeah. I think it was on there with the Karate Kid Part 2 and some other movie. But so I think the rental market is where it became a thing, or TV. I mean, because I don't know. I mean, I remember watching it a lot when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But we had already had it recorded on a separate tape. So it was rented by my parents at some point. My dad or my mom liked it enough to record it, or my brother possibly, and that's how it came to be. I mean, I'm not sure where they play. I mean, because it's hard to pinpoint who could have found out about it, because they didn't play it a lot on TV, I feel like.
No, they didn't.
No. Unlike like Shawshank is on TBS every other hour. And it's not like an evergreen movie that I feel like they played all the time. Maybe it played it on
or
USA
if at all. I don't even know if it.
I
don't remember it being on like TV.
I don't. And unless it
maybe
was,
that's why.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. Just didn't get a lot of syndication on TV, because I feel like a lot of these movies, if they watched it, if they rented it, or if they owned it when they were a kid, they watched it.
Yeah.
The next obvious thing I'm going to say is Water is Wet.
Water's Wet, yeah.
But it didn't have... I mean, they played it on TV. There's TV cuts of this, but I don't think they played it enough on TV to where it became popular, spread by word of mouth, or had the ratings like, oh, we got to play this again, kind of
thing.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
And to where I don't know if I'd even call it a cult fan, because, I mean, this movie does have... I mean, it has been released on Shout Factory with a special edition. I mean, it's... Joe Dante says it's the second most popular movie. So a lot of people know about this movie. And I feel like a lot of people our age know about this movie. Our parents may not, and our kids may or may not ever. But I think it was just our age group growing up in the 80s with the advent of the VCR. It became popular for us because we could rent it. And it's PG. So it's not rated R. It's not... So I think, I don't know, I feel like it's fairly popular with our age group. But again, with people that don't watch a lot of movies, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's a cult movie, because normally cult movies are like not box office successes, and
not a lot of people know about.
Not a lot of people know about it, and even the reviews, like critically, would be on the low end, like they're not good movies. Like when I think of a cult movie, I think of like The Room. You know, it's like the worst bad movie ever made, but there's like midnight screenings and people know the lines to the movies, they'll act it out, like, or Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, something with like an extreme, feverish fandom for something that is, it's just kind of like a very subculture kind of movie. Like, cause I remember in college, like everyone liked Boondock Saints. Like, oh, and then everyone was like, oh, it's a cult movie. And I'm like, no, it's not, because a lot of people like it.
A lot of people like it. Yeah, it's popular.
Yeah. I was like, it just found its legs on DVD.
DVD, yeah.
And so,
yeah. Well, I think this movie is underrated because a lot of Tom Hanks's clout comes from like Big or Splash. You know, or even Turner and Hooch was more successful than this movie. But I think The Burbs is more unique. I'd rather watch The Burbs than any of those other three. This is more unique to me, and it's more clever and entertaining.
And maybe we should do a top 5 Tom Hanks movies or Tom Hanks comedy. We'd have to do 2 of them: Tom Hanks comedies and Tom Hanks dramas.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Tom Hanks movies go, it's like this one. It's The Burbs, Dragnet.
Ooh, I forgot about Dragnet. Yeah.
And League of Their Own, and Joe versus the Volcano.
The Man with One Red Shoe, The Money Pit.
The Money Pit I like.
That's a good movie, yeah.
And so I mean, yeah, and maybe it's just not as popular just because Tom Hanks wasn't Tom Hanks in it.
Yeah. Until the end. He becomes Tom Hanks, and he has that raspy Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Well, he blew up a house. What the fuck else?
Yeah, what is he going to do? He has his physical comedy moments there. Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. I think this is more of a vehicle for Rick Ducommun.
That, or I mean, a little bit. Yeah, I could see that.
Because he stands out more than Tom Hanks does.
He does, and I think everyone
stands out more than Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, he does a good job of not playing it up.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think the movie works, is because everyone else is weird compared to him.
Who's a normal person.
Who's a normal person. And until like towards the end, then he starts becoming obsessed with finding out the truth about the neighbors and everything.
Yeah, he has just enough evidence to push him over the edge with the toupee and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But because he is supposed to represent that everyman that all the audience members can relate to.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought Ray Peterson. Was that like in reference to Ferris Bueller? Like, this is Ray Peterson, but it's George Peterson. It's not Ray Peterson. Anything else on the Burbs?
I don't think so.
I think we talked enough, right?
Yeah.
Go see The Burbs if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
It's very underrated. I love the movie. Like I said, it's probably my favorite Tom Hanks comedy from the 80s, I would say. It's up there.
Mm-hmm.
Very underrated. Like, it's got a 6.9 on IMDb right now. It's at least a 7. It at least deserves to be in the 7 territory.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, IMDb, like some of these movies, I'm like, let's...
Yeah.
I think we're being a little harsh on something. Next time, we are... join us next time. We are going to start a new series, one of 2 new series.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our top 5.
Yep.
That
new
we
things
do
coming. New
do
things coming.
do every once in a while. We are going to do 2 new series. One is we're going to scour the zeitgeist, the pop culture sphere, and find movies that kind of get shit on a lot by a lot of people. And if it's a movie that we have not seen that gets shit on, then we will watch it and see if it's
warranted.
Is it really that bad?
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned it last week, like a Twilight or a 50 Shades of Grey or something. But you've seen Twilight, so we were not going to be doing that one.
Yep.
Because.
So Jay's like, because I don't want to see it either.
I don't want to see it. It could be the best fucking movie ever, and I don't care. Yeah. And then the other side of that coin is we're going to discuss and explore a beloved film and see if it's really that good. And that will be the first in the new series of possible episodes, and that will be next week. So next week we will explore if Blade Runner is really that good.
1982 Blade Runner.
1982 Blade Runner, not Blade Runner 2049. So,
which mean you both enjoyed.
Correct. And Blade Runner, you have seen before.
It's been a while, but yes, I've seen it.
So I have seen. I haven't seen half of it. I don't know how much I've seen of it. I've attempted to watch it, I think 3 or 4 times.
But you've fallen asleep.
I have fallen asleep every single time. So I will stay awake. If I start to fall asleep, I will go back and I will finish it this time.
Just let me know when you're going to watch it. I'll just, I'll call you every 10 minutes.
You awake, huh?
Wake up.
So I haven't really seen it. I'm aware of it. I'm aware of a lot of the things in it. But
It is definitely revered. In full disclosure, I took a movies class as part of my elective requirements in college, and fawning over Blade Runner and the filming techniques, and
so
loved it.
I took several film classes.
Yes,
and I think we had to watch it in 2 of them, and because I started in one college, then I transferred to another college, and watched it in both colleges, and both times fell asleep. But
what'd you have to do? Write a paper? You just made it up?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I just went online and I bullshitted my way around.
It's directed by one of your favorite directors, Ridley Scott.
Yeah, who's
what, 1 for 50 in your book?
1 for 50. Alien was top notch, perfect movie.
And it was all downhill. It was
definitely all downhill from there.
Man, didn't make a good movie since.
Yeah, even his 1984 commercial I thought was overhyped.
So I'm looking at IMDb 8.1, number 176
of all time.
It made the top 250.
All right. Well, next week we will, and I think it's streaming on Amazon. I don't know if you can rent it or if it's free or if it's included. But it's streaming on Amazon. It may be other places, but so watch Blade Runner. If you haven't seen Blade Runner, try and watch it. If you have seen Blade Runner and you love it, please chime in next week and listen to our thoughts and then comment on the episode to see if we're correct or wrong or whatever.
Please comment on the episodes.
But yeah, so that'll be next time. Next week is Blade Runner really that good? Don't forget to visit our website, castwithnoname.com. All of our other episodes are there. All that good shit. So until next time, Matt.
Until next time, Jay.